Good morning, students. The last video dealt with the various concepts that work behind Shakespearean comedy and the introduction of Merchant of Venice. Today, this motion picture deals with the various concerns of Act 1, Scene 1 and the exposition of The Merchant of Venice, infested with the trademark Shakespearean mystery. The first task confronting any playwright in his opening scene is the exposition of that play. That is, he must identify the characters and explain their situation to the audience in detail. Shakespeare, the true master of expositions, accomplishes this task very subtly in the opening few lines between Antonio, Salarino, and Solanio. In the opening lines, Shakespeare creates a sense of ambiguity and mystery, like all his plays, preparing the audience or the readers for an unexpected outcome. The master artist in Shakespeare sets the ball rolling from the very outset, making the characters and their intentions extremely clear. In Act 1, Scene 1 of The Merchant of Venice, we learn that Antonio is a very wealthy merchant and he is worried for some obscure reasons, which makes him melancholic, unaware of its origin. Antonio is a member of a group of friends who arrive later, Bassanio, Lorenzo, and Graciano, who represent the lively convivial life of Venice. In this opening scene, Shakespeare begins to sketch in some of the characters and some of the atmosphere of the play. Antonio, for example, is presented as being sad, afflicted with grave sadness, which he himself does not appear to understand. Often have the readers been puzzled over this. Is Antonio to be viewed as a normally melancholic character? Is his sadness caused by his knowledge that he may shortly lose the companionship of his old beloved friend Bassanio, who has told him of embarking on a secret pilgrimage to woo a beautiful and wealthy woman in Belmont? Or is his mood to be put down simply as an ominous apprehension which he has of something approaching in a disastrous manner? For all dramatic purposes, in this scene, Antonio's gravity serves foremost, as a contrast to the light-heartedness of his friends. One of the major purposes of this opening scene is to introduce Bassanio and his courtship of Portia, which will continue and constitute the major romantic plot and also set the Bond story in motion. In Act 1, Scene 1, walking along a street in Venice, Antonio, the central character in the scene, confesses to his friends Salarino and Solanio that lately he has felt unaccountably sad. Sadness that is unfathomable, minus an origin or a reason. They have noticed it, and therefore they suggest that Antonio is probably worried about the safety of his merchant ships, which are exposed to storms at sea and the attack of the pirates. Should I go to church and see the holy edifice of stone, and not bethink me straight of dangerous rocks, which touching but my gentle vessel's side would scatter all her spices on the stream, refers to the various adversities in the ocean. Antonio denies this and also discards the fact that he might be in love, a possibility that both of his friends explain about Antonio's sudden pensiveness. Salarino concludes that Antonio's sad mood must be due to the fact that he is of a naturally melancholic disposition. Shakespeare, in the opening scene, maintains his trademark dramatic exposition, where he injects a sense of mystery and prepares the audience for the crisis, followed by gradual revelations. While Antonio is busy sharing his unknown sadness, Bassanio, Lorenzo, and Gratiano enter the scene. Salanio and Salarino excuse themselves, explaining that they have business to attend to. Lorenzo and Gratiano explain that they are leaving and remind Bassanio to meet him later at dinner time. Gratiano takes a long look at his old friend Antonio and playfully mocks him for being so solemn and so unduly silent. Gratiano says that he himself never has moods, in contrast to Antonio. Gratiano is determined to always play the fool. Lorenzo intimates that sometimes Gratiano is too much the fool, that he is too talkative or loquacious, and therefore Lorenzo and Gratiano depart, promising to meet the others at dinner. Left alone with Antonio, Bassanio assures him that he should not worry about Gratiano's critical remarks or his sense of ridicule. Bassanio explains that Gratiano is the biggest blowhard in all of Venice. Lastly, in Act 1, Scene 1, the readers witness a very heartfelt conversation between Antonio and Bassanio, where Antonio suddenly changes the subject of his sadness and asks Bassanio for more information, as promised, about the certain lady to whom Bassanio has sworn a secret pilgrimage. Bassanio does not answer. Bassanio rather begins a new subject, and he rambles on about his plots and purposes, and about the fact that he has become so prodigal that he feels gagged, literally a bankrupt. He indirectly sought more furnish of money from Antonio. However, Antonio informs his friend to get to the point, and he also promises to help Bassanio to the utmost he can. Bassanio then reveals his love for the beautiful and virtuous Portia, an extremely wealthy young lady who lives in Belmont. He says that her beauty and her fortune are so well known, in fact, that she is being courted by renowned suitors all across the world. Bassanio, however, is confident that if he could spend as much as money as it is necessary and prove to be equal in her status, then he could be successful in his courtship with Portia. Antonio understands Bassanio's predicament, but Antonio has a problem of his own. Since all the capital which Antonio possesses has been invested in his ships, his cash flow is insufficient for any major investments at this time. So, as a solution, however, Antonio authorizes Bassanio to try to raise a loan using Antonio's reputation as collateral for credit. Together, they will do their utmost and help Bassanio to go to Belmont in proper style. At the end, the artist William Shakespeare allegorically reveals the reason behind Antonio's sadness, open to the audience and the readers for open interpretation. Thank you. Have a nice day.